Nothing you see is as real as you think. We live inside a conscious simulation where God is not a myth, but the processor of the universe. You are about to discover why evil is necessary, how consciousness shapes reality, and what happens after death. Stay until the end to understand why your freedom is not an illusion. Reality is not what you think. What you see, what you touch, what you call the world, is merely a reflection, a frozen projection displayed in a showcase of static time. The human mind, trained to obey and repeat, never questions the stage. But there are those who break the script, men who are not satisfied with the screen, but demand to look behind the glass. Chris Langan is one of them. With an extraordinary IQ and a devastating capacity for analysis, he has formulated a theory that not only questions the world we inhabit, but dismantles it completely, and replaces it with something far more raw. Truth as a living, conscious computational structure. The first fracture Langan proposes is brutal. The universe you experience is not all that exists. What you call reality is only a screen, a static display, a superficial layer that hides its true operation. Each state, each object, each instant is a frozen image, as if you were trapped in an animated presentation that someone else is running from outside. Time does not flow. It's faked. What changes, what happens, depends on a hidden process. And that process is not inside the reality you see. It's outside, in a non-terminal domain, a place you cannot touch but that sustains everything. That's where God enters the picture. Not as a religious figure, not as a spiritual metaphor. God, in this framework, is the very structure that allows anything to exist. He is the processor that transforms states into flow, that connects before and after, that gives coherence to what, without him, would be nothing but a frozen image. God is not part of the system. He encompasses and surpasses it. He is the only one who can unify display and processing, the two invisible pillars of this stage we call the world. Second breakthrough. Consciousness is not a property exclusive to humans. It is not a biological accident. It is not an evolutionary spark. It is part of the system, embedded in every point of the universe as a primary function. Everything possesses some level of consciousness. Even an object, a table, a stone, not because they think or feel as you do, but because they participate in the same system of identity you also inhabit. At the core, what exists is a network of identity operators, entities that capture information, process it, and return it as external states. That is the true architecture of consciousness. It's not observing, it's participating. It's not watching the movie, it's coding it from within. Third breakthrough. This structure is not an empty theory. It's not philosophical speculation. It has mathematical form. It has internal rules. It has logical coherence. And it inevitably leads to a conclusion feared by modern thought. God is not optional. God is necessary. If reality has identity, and that identity generates properties such as omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence, then what you're describing is God. Denying God's identity doesn't erase it. Ignoring it doesn't weaken its force. Turning it into caricature is just another way of avoiding what's real. If God is the structure that processes everything that exists, then you inhabit a network you cannot control, but you can modify it. You cannot escape it, but you can intervene. The consciousness you carry is not passive. It's an active function of the system, designed to participate in creating the display you call reality. Free will is neither a random gift nor a romantic illusion. It's the logical consequence of a universe that is not fixed, but generated constantly through quantum processes. You don't walk a pre-written script. Each moment is constructed in real time. Your decisions are read, integrated, and processed by a system that responds to your will. That makes your existence a form of co-authorship. You don't merely witness the world, you create it from within. This vision of free will directly collides with the deterministic logic that dominates modern culture. If everything is already written, then you choose nothing. But if everything is generated in real time, then you are responsible. Not before an external law or abstract morality, but before the very structure that sustains you. What you decide, what you think, how you live, directly influences how the universe manifests for you and for others. Death in this system is not disappearance. It is transition. The body shuts down, but consciousness does not extinguish. It persists as part of the universe's structural network. The key lies in the state in which that consciousness continues, and that state depends on your bond with the source. If the connection remains, there is reintegration. If it breaks, there is isolation. No one condemns you. You define yourself in every act, every choice, every way of inhabiting the world. When that connection is lost, what follows is not punishment, it's consequence. Hell is not a place. It's a state generated by a consciousness that has denied its origin, that has lost coherence, that tries to create from disconnection. It is an empty, disordered, distorted world, a perfect reflection of the rejection of the structure that made it possible. Evil is not an accident of the universe. It does not arise by error or by chance. It is a structural necessity within a system where perfection cannot include what denies it. God, being absolute, cannot absorb within himself that which contradicts his essence. He needs a boundary, a line marking what remains within order and what stays outside. That line does not punish, it reveals. Evil appears as the inevitable effect of what chooses separation. Satan is not a mythological figure. He is the active expression of that separation, the pure negation of origin. He possesses no power on his own. He gains strength only when human beings collaborate, through their decisions, their institutions, their systems. Governments, corporations, impersonal structures that no longer function with consciousness but as hollow bodies. Empty organisms that no longer create reality, only distort it. Evil does not need violence to advance. Efficiency, productivity, unquestionable order are enough. What many see as neutral, the routine job, the hierarchical ladder, the automatic consumption, is where evil installs itself. It does not present itself with grotesque masks but with metrics, rules, and protocols. Its face is that of absolute normality, but its function is clear: to cut the connection with the source, to replace the real with the functional, to silence active consciousness, to subdue will, to destroy freedom from within. Understanding this is not an intellectual act, it's a breaking point. Because this entire system is not just a theory, it's a map, a precise design of the deep functioning of reality. Ignoring it makes you a slave. Understanding it gives you access to reconnection, not as a magical escape, but as a conscious return. If you are part of the system of identity that sustains the universe, then you can restore that bond with the source, not through faith, but through structural coherence. Reality is not fixed. It is constantly built. Your choices, your attention, your way of being generate the world. And if that world is noise, anxiety, and simulation, then you haven't failed. You've just broken away from what sustains you. And there is only one way to restore it. Return to the origin. Return to God. Everything around you responds to a deeper logic than what you were taught. If this content made you think differently, don't forget to subscribe, activate the bell, leave your comment, and join us in the next video. Your consciousness deserves it.